New Game Plus is a beloved feature in many RPGs today. In case you don't know what it is, New Game Plus means you've already completed the game once, and in an attempt to enjoy the game even longer, the developers designed an additional option for a second playthrough that allows you to keep your items, abilities, and level with the caveat of each boss being that much stronger. This makes for some riveting gameplay, new rewards, and intricate strategies you wouldn't normally need to formulate in a vanilla playthrough. Most RPGs have implemented it at this point, except for my favorite franchise ever, Pokemon. Wouldn't it be nice to be able to start a brand new playthrough where you get to have all 3 starters and keep all of the items and TMs you've accumulated in your first playthrough, but the entire playthrough is now going to be on hard mode? It's not fair that Roxanne gets walloped every time you play through Hoenn, and it's no fun being restricted when it comes to strategies. Right now, there are 2 main options when it comes to enjoying Pokemon. You can choose to spam surf for yet another vanilla playthrough, or you can get your cheeks clapped by some teenager in Japan on the VGC ladder. But where's the middle option? So I revamped the entire Hoenn region in an attempt to breathe new life into the franchise's most beloved region for a New Game Plus playthrough. Not only will each gym leader receive an upgraded team with unique hold items and abilities, but they'll also be receiving a few mystery buffs that I'm calling tactics to give them home field advantage. Because let's face it, this could be the 100th battle for Wattson in his own gym, but this is the first time you're battling him. Or second, I guess, because it's New Game Plus, but either way, these gyms should be modeled to give their leader a significant advantage in battle. After all, they should be the experts in their own gym and be acutely aware of things like not letting the sprinklers go off that would make your ground type weak to electric moves. You know, tactics that would give them the advantage, not the challenger. And I promise that it's going to be much more diabolical than just permanent weather, because although that is thoughtful and unique, we're going to take it one step further. This is the 3rd region that I've remade so far in my New Game Plus series, and if you like this concept, you might like my Kanto video where I give each gym leader a wild card to pull the team together. Or you might like my Johto video where I gave each gym leader a secondary typing, but this video is all about Hoenn, so without further ado, let's get hard with Roxanne. Or not. Roxanne is the rock type gym leader from Rustboro, but something that stands out to me is how Roxanne is a top graduate from the trainer school, yet her team has nothing to show for it. She supposedly knows who Brock is since they share the same type specialty, so why does she make the same mistake he does and use a Geodude? It makes her 4 times weak to 2 of the 3 starters. And since she is clearly more intelligent than Brock, I'm going to have her go a different route. To start, she's going to have both fossil Pokemon, Anorith and Lilip. Not only are they both rock types, which fit perfectly in the type theme, but being fossils ties back to her trainer school roots since fossils are most likely studied at Pokemon school. Anorith's bug typing can help with grass types that may have been brought to a rock type gym, and they can also eat your berries after they've consumed their own with stab bug bites. Side note, did you know that Anorith is almost twice as fast as their evolved form? It's the only fossil Pokemon to lose speed points as they evolve. They also have the ability to set up entry hazards with Stealth Rock and lower your team speed with this gym's TM Rock Tomb. Lilip is also here to make use of their Storm Drain ability to soak up any water type attacks that additionally give them a special attack boost. And their unique rock grass typing gives them a neutral defensive presence to every single one of the Hoenn starters, as well as granting them the ability to hit 2 of the 3 of them for stab super effective damage. As for the other Pokemon on Roxanne's team, there is only one more obvious rock type that Roxanne typically uses, but I wanted to find team members that will synergize with Roxanne's first gym tactic, a permanent sandstorm. Yes, I know I said it's going to be more than just a permanent sandstorm, so just stick with me. This sandstorm not only deals passive chip damage to your team every turn, but it also boosts the special defense of all rock types by 50%, which will take them from being in 11th place in the special defense category all the way to the number 1 spot. Another pitfall of the rock type is that they rank dead last when it comes to speed. Yes, many of Roxanne's Pokemon will have the speed lowering moves as Bulldoze and Rock Tomb, but those can be easily negated by switching in and out, which is why I decided to make the second gym tactic no switching. This pays homage to how Roxanne's Nose Pass always tries to use move block in the Hoenn games, but it really helps me remember when my teachers used to tell me, the bell doesn't excuse you, I do. This also means that whatever speed drops have been accumulated up to this point are permanent, and without being able to switch, it's likely that at least one of Roxanne's next 2 Pokemon will cause some trouble. The first is Aaron, and maybe you've seen the jokes about how a level 1 Aaron can take out a level 100 Mewtwo because they can survive any attack thanks to their ability Sturdy. And then they can use the move Endeavor, which forces the opponent's HP to match the user's, which is now 1 HP, and because they're also holding the Shell Bell that restores an 1/8 of the damage dealt by the user, now they're back to full health with Sturdy active again. And on the next turn, they can outspeed with a priority quick attack for the KO. So yeah, she's gonna have one of those on her team along with the Trapinch. And I know Trapinch isn't a rock type, but I am doing my best to keep these teams in Hoenn, but they do possess the ability to learn the TM Rock Tomb, they don't take damage from Sandstorm due to their ground typing, and they do have the ability Arena Trap to trap opponents in battle, which I guess is completely unnecessary here, but they can also use priority first impressions to pick off low HP opponents, as well as the speed lowering ground type move Bulldoze. And the last Pokemon is obviously going to be your ace Nose Pass, who will remain unchanged for the most part, but also have multiple ways to paralyze you, lower your speed, and then get a rollout going, which with the held wide lens is 95% likely to hit 5 times in a row and end up achieving a 936 base power hit when stab and stand force multipliers are included. Not even a full HP Kyogre can survive that. Good luck with this gym. The next gym in the Hoenn region is found in Dewford Town, which is one of 2 towns in the entire Pokemon franchise to be home of a gym but not a Pokemon. Cyanwood City and Johto is the other. So with that, the first tactic that Brawly will be using to his advantage is that neither trainer will be able to heal in this match either by hold item from the bag, or recovery moves similar to the effect of Psychic Noise. Because like, for real, isn't this the most boring gameplay to watch? There's also another popular strategy to use where you can find a Sableye in the nearby cave who can then solo Brawly, being that his team doesn't have a single move to hit a ghost type. So to counter that, Brawly's entire team will have the underlying ability Scrappy. Scrappy allows the user to hit ghost types with normal and fighting type moves that they're usually immune to, and this seems like a perfect fit since Brawly's gym has the lights off when you enter as a challenger to begin with. This shows that Brawly and his team are used to fighting in the dark and can see things that you can't, meaning that his fighting types have now gained the ability to hit ghost types since the first playthrough. As for Brawly's team, it was difficult to keep the entire team in Hoenn since there are only 4 fighting type evolution lines, and Blaziken is a better fit for another team we'll talk about in a moment, so I needed to use Pokemon that Brawly used in his rematch teams as well as the Pokemon World Tournament in Black 2 and White 2. The first Mon would be his huge power Metatype, whose sole job is to set up Light Screen and or Reflect if they can last that long, because with the held Light Clay, it'll last for 8 teams instead of 5, improving his entire team's survivability. There's also an intimidating Hitmontop kitted out with all the priority moves you can ask for, along with a held wide lens to make their signature move viable. In case you didn't know, Triple Kick starts off at a 10 base power and doubles every consecutive hit up to 3 times. But it has the drawback of each hit being independently 90% accurate, which essentially means that Triple Kick is a 72% accurate 60 base power move. But with the held wide lens, it is now a 97% accurate 60 base power move. Still quite underwhelming, but this is only gym number 2. The next Pokemon is part of an evolutionary line that Brawly uses in every iteration of his team, but has never actually used. Yes, I'm talking about Machoke. He uses Machop in his first battle, but in his very first rematch, he already has a Machamp, so Machoke is a nice middle ground for New Game Plus. And they have one of the most fun combinations of moves and abilities. No Guard is an ability which makes the target never be able to miss moves, and Dynamic Punch is usually a 50% accurate move with a secondary effect of always inflicting confusion if it lands. Normally banking on a 50% accurate move is quite frustrating, but with never being able to miss, the frustration is on your opponent now. Unless you brought a one-hit KO move, because the drawback of No Guard is that attacks against you can't miss either. Anyways, the next Pokemon is Breloom, who I'm upset isn't used by any gym leaders at the moment because they are the fastest Spore user in the game. And with an ability like Technician boosting each individual hit of Bullet Seed to 56 base power including stab, holding the loaded dice allows this seemingly weak move to turn into a minimum of a 225 base power attack. Breloom's out to show that mushrooms can be a menace too. And the last Pokemon is one you probably already guessed, the evolved form of his usual ace, Hariyama. Only this one would be holding the Flame Orb with the Guts ability. This increases Hariyama's attack by 50% as long as they have a status condition, but can be a pain to set up since you don't get burnt until the end of the first turn, which is why they can use a priority move Fake Out to flinch their opponent on the first turn of battle and remove that obstacle to have Guts activate pretty much immediately, as well as keeping them immune to any other status condition since you can't be burnt and paralyzed at the same time. This team would turn Brawly's current status from the laughingstock of Dewford to a fighting gym leader that really packs a punch. Brawly is typically quite easy in a playthrough, and usually the most difficult early roadblock is Wattson. And this New Game Plus playthrough is going to be no different. Since this is the generation that introduced double battles, 4 of the 8 gym battles are going to be double battles, and the first one starts with Wattson. You would start with the same 2 Pokemon that Lacey did as she tried to prevent you from entering the Blueberry Academy. And I know what you're thinking, this is supposed to be New Game Plus. How is leading with these 2 rodents going to make this harder? Well, is because of the tactics. The first tactic is permanent electric terrain. Not only does this prevent any sleeping shenanigans, but this also boosts the power of electric type moves by 30%. Oh, Pokemon John, that's so terrifying coming off a base special attack of 85 and 75. That might be true, but I'm also going to give Wattson's gym a one-sided Galvanize. Galvanize turns normal type attacks into electric type attacks. And with Wattson's love for tinkering in his off time, it's likely he's figured out a way to put on electric tame for his battles, as well as ensuring that normal attacks turn into electricity somehow. These tactics tactics also synergize with Plusle and Minun's abilities that negate electric type damage. Plusle has the ability Lightning Rod, which boosts the user's special attack when being hit by electric moves, where Minun has Volt Absorb, which heals the user by 25% of their max HP instead of taking damage. And since they both know the move Discharge, which hits every Pokemon on the field, including your own ally, they can boost Plusle's special attack to an astronomical rate while Minun can stay healthy. Discharge also has a 30% chance to paralyze you, and being hit by 2 discharges in one turn probably means that you have a 100% chance of ending the turn with paralysis, because that's how Pokemon math works, right? Once the first phase of the rodents are KO'd, Wattson would run a Volt switching carnival between the next trio of Mons. The first two would be Electrode and Magneton, who both know the move Magnet Rise, which makes them immune to ground type attacks, and between Volt switching and an eject button, their sole job is to start levitating, paralyze you with Thunder Wave or their static ability, and continuously pivot with Manectric. Manectric has the ability Intimidate to lower your special attack, and upon Mega Evolving can further lower your attack with a second Intimidate, rendering your physical attacks useless after just a few pivots. In between the type coverage and an exploding ball, they're every gym challenger's worst nightmare. Is it too early for Mega Evolutions in the third gym? Maybe, but how are they going to make a Mega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire and not give Mega Evolutions to the gym leaders? And Wattson's supposed to be hard. Nobody has ever had an easy time getting by him. I want to keep this remake faithful to the original emotions of fighting Wattson for the first time, and I think that this team accomplished that. And equally as fiery as Flannery, who is going to probably receive one of the most obvious gym tactics, but I'm going to be turning it up a notch. Generation 3 introduced weather setting abilities, and the revisit to Hoenn in Generation 6 introduced Primal Evolution, which transformed these weather setting abilities even further. We'll talk about Primal Kyogre's later, but Primal Groudon's upgraded ability is Desolate Land, and it functions very similarly to Drought, but better. That's because not only does Desolate Land receive all the benefits that Drought does, such as boosting fire type moves, one-turn solar beams, and activating the ability Chlorophyll, but Desolate Land cannot be overridden by regular abilities or regular moves like Drizzle or Rain Dance. No, only Primal Kyogre or Mega Rayquaza can do anything about it. And to top it all off, water moves cannot be used during this type of sunlight, which is great because the first two Pokemon on Flannery's team are quad weak to water. Magcargo is simply here to be annoying and try to put your Pokemon to sleep with a yawn before trying to get some ancient power Omni Boost, and Camerupt is in a unique situation where under Desolate Land, they only have one weakness being ground, and with the Citrus Berry in the gym second mechanic, probably has some staying power, because the second gym tactic is going to reference one of Lava Ridge's most prized possessions, the Lava Cookie. Lava Cookies cure any status condition a Pokemon could have, and in this battle, I'm going to have them function similar to berries with the ability Harvest under harsh sunlight. The ability Harvest grants the user a 50% chance to restore a consumed berry on any given turn, but a 100% chance to restore the berry under harsh sunlight. So that means because this gym has permanent sunlight, every Pokemon has a 100% chance to consume a Lava Cookie if they have a status condition, meaning your strategy to inflict status or set up toxic spikes is rendered completely useless. Yeah, it's supposed to be unfair, it's New Game Plus. I'd also give Flannery a Houndoom since she uses one in the Pokemon World Tournament in Black 2 and White 2, and they'd be a somewhat fast Solar Beam user to make sure your Swampert never knew what hit him. And this might be a little bit controversial, but I'm going to start changing the gym leader's ace. You'll see why in a moment, but that means that the penultimate Pokemon is going to be Torkoal. They're still quite menacing and have a competitive moveset to try to keep up with the New Game Plus playthrough, but with this power level, she needs a Mega Evolution for an ace, and I'm going to give her Mega Blaziken. I did debate on making her have Mega Camerupt, but that's Maxie's ace, and I'm of the opinion that starters should be scattered throughout your playthrough as they are usually one of the strongest Pokemon of the region. So Mega Blaziken would have their classic Swords Dancing speed boosting set that has the potential to counter sweep any single team, which is probably why they were banned to Ubers. But without a Focus Sash and needing to hold a Blaziken Knight, they won't always have the ability to set up, which makes for a more fair fight. This makes for the halfway point of our New Game Plus playthrough, and from here on out, every single gym leader is going to have a full team of 6. So hit that sub button if you're ready to lock in, because we're going to be talking about daddy issues next. It's no secret that Norman is the father of the player character in Hoenn, resulting in the only parent gym leader so far, but he also has the most abusable gym in the mainline games with his iconic Slacking's Truant ability. So we're going to do something about it. The first thing we're going to do is normalize the type chart. This is Delcatty's signature ability, and essentially what we're doing is removing all types from battle, and everyone and everything are going to be the normal type. So for example, Flamethrower is now a normal type move with a 10% chance to burn, and all Pokemon will deal and receive neutral damage, meaning the term super effective, not very effective, and doesn't affect them at all won't be showing up in this gym battle. So yes, this does mean that normal types can now be hit by ghost moves, and ghost types can now be hit by normal type moves because this is the plain gym. And this benefits Norman because normal type Pokemon can't deal super effective damage anyway, but his team will receive a stab boost from every single one of the moves used now. And because I believe that this tactic is so powerful, the second tactic is not going to be nearly as powerful, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. As for the team, I'd still like to keep his Spinda, but mainly for the gimmicks. I didn't realize this at first, but Spinda's base stats are all 60, which when added all together come to the total of of 360, which is kind of funny when you realize that Spinda is always spinning in 360 degrees. But anyways, I'd give them a focus sash to always be able to withstand at least one hit and counter back with a teeter dance to confuse you before going down, because I'm hoping for some confusion luck for his next Pokemon Linoon. They have the ability Gluttony, which makes them consume berries a bit earlier than usual, and the move Belly Drum, which consumes half their HP to max out their attack stat. So if you could hit yourself in confusion during that turn so Linoon could set up and eat their berry and then extreme speed your entire team into oblivion, that would be great. I'd also give him Blissey to be a special wall with the classic Hyper Voice Throat Spray combo to boost their special attack a bit before utilizing their Serene Grace ability to double the chances of secondary effects, so she'll hopefully burn or paralyze you at some point. And then Norman would send out another underrepresented Mon Zangoose. There are too many cool Hoenn Pokemon that don't find themselves on a gym leader team for some reason, and Zangoose is definitely one of them. Known for their classic feud with Viper, they've gained the ability to increase their attack stat while poison, which pairs perfectly with the move Facade, which doubles in power if the user has a status condition. This means that including Stab, the extra boost from being poisoned, and the toxic boost, that this move is now a 315 base power move. Pretty dope looking shiny too. And now we get to Slacking, the ace that wears the crown for being the most exploitable Pokemon. And we're going to put an end to this madness with the gym's second tactic, Paternal Bond. No, not Parental Bond, which is Mega Kangaskhan's ability, but Paternal Bond. They are essentially going to be very similar, but instead of damaging the opponent 2 times in the same turn with the second hit dealing 25% of the damage of the first, Slacking will be dealing 25% of the damage they dealt on their non-truant turns during their resting turn to help prevent the cheese a little bit. And coming off at base 160 attack stat is going to be fairly significant damage. And no, they're not the ace either. The ace is going to be a parental Pokemon that we just spoke about, because all aces in New Game Plus playthroughs need to be able to attack every turn. And that's where I draw the line. I briefly touched on their Mega ability a little bit, but what better ace for the gym of your father than a Mega Evolved mother fighting alongside her child? I don't know either. But gimmicks aside, normal types are a threat to be reckoned with, and I'm still surprised that there are no normal type Elite Four members, although they'd probably be the most busted team out there. The next stop is Fortree City, and this has to be one of my favorite cities in all of Pokemon. The greenery, the tree houses, it's literally a kid's dream. But the only disappointment I have is that the city itself wasn't intertwined with the gym somehow. What I thought would be a grass type gym leader upon entering actually turned out to be a flying type leader. And even though there's a protective canopy over the city, I was hoping that would somehow be incorporated into the gym battle. So to make use of it in this playthrough, Winona's flying type Pokemon are going to be protected by a canopy field, which is going to have a similar effect to Mega Rayquaza's Delta Stream ability. But instead of turning off flying type weaknesses completely, this canopy field will reduce the power of rock, ice, and electric type attacks by 25%, granting Winona's Pokemon a little extra survivability. And with flying types being known for their speed, they're going to have a permanent tailwind for this fight. Yes, I know it seems busted, but they do rank first in speed when compared to the other 17 types, so most of her team will probably be outspeeding you anyways. Oh, and with this one being the 6th gym battle of the journey, the last 3 leaders are going to be double battles. So with that being said, Winona is going to be leading with Skarmory and Swellow. Skarmory is the resident entry hazard setter, and Swellow is going to attempt to hide behind a substitute to activate their Guts ability. With the ability Sturdy and some fairly bulky defenses, Skarmory is almost guaranteed to get up at least 1 entry hazard before attempting to attack. And by using substitute, Swellow nearly guarantees their Flame Orb to activate their Guts ability that we've spoken about with Brawly's Hariyama. And with Stab, Facades, and Brave Birds, their base 85 attack stat is going to feel much more powerful than that. The next 2 Pokemon are Tropius and Pelipper. Of course, the Toilet Bird needs to be here since everybody loves how much they use Protect, but their main goal in this fight has shifted to setting up the rain with their Drizzle ability, which makes the flying move Hurricane 100% accurate. And Tropius is here holding the little known Key Berry, which raises their defense by 1 stage when hit by a physical move. Combine this with the move Body Press that deals damage based on the user's defense, and the ability Harvest to grant nearly endless defense boost, and suddenly Tropius's battle prowess matches their appearance. And let's be honest, we all thought that this thing would be a menace based on its appearance until we saw its stats. I threw Kecleon on this team as a fun way to reference the Kecleon event on the nearby route, but to also position my opinion that gym leaders shouldn't be restricted to using one singular type. I say that as the last 5 teams have been monotype. But anyway, they should represent the city and their hobbies, and Kecleon's color change ability might just be the coolest ability out there because they change into the type of mood they were just hit by, granting them extra survivability. Hopefully. Which means that the ace of Winona's team is none other than the Dragon Fairy Mega Altaria. They can still use Pelipper's Rain for 100% accurate Hurricanes, as well as Stab, Dragon Pulse, and Hyper Voices thanks to their Pixelate ability that turns normal moves into fairy moves. And under Tailwind, this fluffy dragon is a force to be reckoned with since speed is literally the only thing that's holding them back. Just look at these stats. Fun fact, flying is a sneaky good type, being that it is tied for the most world championship wins with 13. Guess which type they're tied with in the comments. So now we've come to the birthplace of double battles against Tate and Liza, and this is my favorite team I've ever come up with so far because there are technically 3 tactics for Tate and Liza. Liza. The first one is permanent psychic terrain. Yes, this powers up psychic moves by 30%, but there's also a few more reasons as to why this greatly benefits the psychic type. The first is that psychic terrain turns the move expanding force from an 80 base power move into a 160 base power move and hits both targets. Technically it's 156 because although it does start as a 160 base power move, then it's 75% damage due to becoming a spread move in a double battle, but then powered up by 30% because of the terrain to total 156, but 160 is close enough. The second is that psychic terrain prevents priority moves from working, so now they're kept safe from super effective priority moves like Shadow Sneak and Sucker Punch. And the next gimmick to talk about is semi-permanent Trick Room. We'll get to why I said semi-permanent in a second, but the first 4 Pokemon on Tate Liza's team are a bit on the slow side, so Trick Room will allow them to move first in most cases. So to start the battle, they'd have the pseudo-legendary Metagross and Claydol. The main synergy to point out here is that Metagross can use Earthquake to do spread damage to both opponents, but not their allies because every single one of them have the ability Levitate. Almost. And yes, I kept Bullet Punch on there even though there's permanent psychic terrain just because it still works on non-grounded Pokemon. It would make for a good surprise at some point. And Claydol is holding the Room Service item, which decreases the holder's speed as soon as Trick Room activates. They have this because they are surprisingly faster than I thought. Genuinely thought their speed would be below 50, but who knew they were going to be the fastest out of these 4? The next pair would be Tate and Liza's usual aces, but we know they're going to be getting upgraded this playthrough. So Solrock and Lunatone will make the most of their synergy. Of course, they're the Sun and Moon, so they have some similarities, but they also have some stark contrast to play on. For example, Solrock is the physical attacker of the two and has more physical defense, while Lunatone is a special attacker and has more special bulk. And yet they have the same exact base stat total along with the same number for each stat, just placed in different categories. Which means that Solrock will attack on the physical side, continuing the Earthquake onslaught as to not hit their fellow levitating celestial body. And Lunatone will be attacking on the special side with the expanding force move we talked about earlier, as well as the strongest special attacking rock move, Meteor Beam. Usually needing to take 2 turns where the first turn provides a special attack boost and the second turn deals damage, but this can be reduced to 1 turn by holding the Power Herb. This would be threatening enough for a normal gym, but the final 2 Pokemon need to be complete menaces for this battle. In fact, you could argue that these 2 aces would be the gym leaders in Pokemon form, Mega Gallade and Mega Gardevoir. And just to check back in on the semi-permanent Trick Room, that would end as soon as Mega Gallade or Mega Gardevoir hit the battlefield since they're much faster than any of their allies. And I know what you're saying, they can't have 2 Megas in one fight, and ordinarily I would agree with you, but might I remind you, we are facing Tate and Liza, which means that each trainer gets the ability to Mega Evolve their Pokemon, meaning that this is fair game. Home field advantage at its finest. And with the physical attacking Gallade and the special attacking Gardevoir, no type combination in the game can resist all of their attacks, making this one of the most challenging fights in this new journey. But you tell me, is it fair to have 2 Megas in this fight, or did I go a bit too overboard? Or should I say underboard on the way to Moss Deep City? Get it? You have to, under the... I'll never forget my first playthrough of Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, where you literally have to dive into an underwater cave just to come up on the other side to see Moss Deep City. Such a cool feature. And since you have to have the special HM dive to enter the last city of the region, it is only fitting that dive becomes a 1-turn move for this gym battle. This doesn't really give that much of an advantage since other water type moves have higher base power or better secondary effects, but still a cool tribute. And since the first gym tactic is a little bit weak, the second tactic is going to be much more powerful because this gym is going to have the other Primal Weather, Primordial Sea. Primal Groudon's weather was used for the Fire Gym, Mega Rayquaza's ability was somewhat used for the Flying Gym, so it only makes sense that Primal Kyogre's weather is used for the Water Gym. Similar to regular rain, Primordial Sea still grants perfectly accurate thunders and hurricanes along with the now double power water type weather balls. But this time fire type attacks have no effect in heavy rain. It's not really the best trade-off since Desolate Land gets rid of a weakness for most fire types and Primordial Sea eliminates a resistance for most water types, but it's still a permanent weather that cannot be turned off with moves like Sunny Day or Sandstorm. So the first 2 Pokemon to take advantage of the water would be Ludicolo and Sharpedo. And yes, I also thought of Mega Evolving Sharpedo, but again, that's Archie's Pokemon, so regular Sharpedo will do just fine here. Ludicolo can take advantage of the rain to activate their Swift Swim ability to give them a speed boost in this fight, as well as take advantage of their unique grass and water stabs. They also have the move Fake Out to raise an opponent's turn to give Sharpedo a free turn to protect itself, granting them a free speed boost. They are admittedly a bit of a glass cannon with terrible defenses, but with attack and speed like this, a Focus Sash is all that's needed to ensure they get off at least 2 attacks to probably KO just as many Pokemon. Wailord's on the team to make use of their incredibly high HP stat and one of the strongest water moves in the game, Water Spout, which deals more damage based on the amount of HP you have. And Wailord is in the running for the Pokemon with the most HP in the game. Milotic is next and is always bulkier than I remember, and by combining their Marvel Scale ability with the move Coil, they can be just as bulky on the physical side too. Coil also boosts their accuracy by 30%, which means after 1 use they can fire off 100% accurate rain boosted Hydro Pumps and 78% 100% accurate hypnosises? I don't know. And to follow the trend of the gym leader's previous ace becoming the penultimate Pokemon, Kingdra would make their appearance next. They also have the Swissum ability like Ludicolo, and with a moveset like this, no Pokemon can resist this coverage, especially when they're holding a Wide Earth to nullify the effect of Draco Meteor dropping their special attack. And maybe this one is not double teaming you, but it's still a menace to be reckoned with. And the last Pokemon for Wallace is going to be Mega Swampert. The only thing holding Mega Swampert back is their speed, but by having permanent rain to activate their Swissum ability, that concern is no longer, which means that this is probably the most terrifying ace a gym leader can have, especially since they only have one weakness, and by this point your grass type has probably been eliminated. The only thing I'm disappointed so far is that I wasn't able to find a spot for Mega Sceptile on these teams, but maybe I'll save that for when I redo the Elite Four. Thank you so much for watching, and if you've enjoyed the content, I'd really appreciate a like, maybe leaving a comment of your favorite team, or maybe even hitting that subscribe button. If you liked this video, you might also like my Johto video where I gave every single gym leader a secondary type, or you might even like my New Game Plus playthrough in Paldea. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.